What's up, guys? Welcome back to Malt Mondays. This week, we're taking a look at the Glenmorangie Tale of Cake.
In Scotland, would you accidentally drive up to Talister's?
So if you saw my review of the Glenmorangie X a little while back, you'll remember that I thought it was a little bit gimmicky. So the question is, does the same thing apply to the Tale of Cake? Initial impressions, I think the bottle, the label, beautiful, but I kind of felt like this was more at home on Instagram than a Scotch whiskey. Not to say that it's not a great design, it's definitely eye-catching on the shelf, but it just doesn't really feel, I don't know, appropriate for the product. But maybe that's just me, enjoying the more classical old school designs of bottles and labels rather than trying to make it hip. And that being said, all that really matters is what's inside the bottle. So Tale of Cake is part of Glenmorangie's private selection. That means it's a limited edition and they release a new one each year. So these range from bottles like the Bacalta, which was aged in Malmsey barrels. This one, the Tale of Cake, which is aged in Tokaji barrels. To other ones like the Spios, which focused on a different type of grain, or some that are focused on different types of yeast. So they're always kind of more of an experimental collection than anything, which sometimes means that they come out excellent, and sometimes I feel like they're more of a miss. Now, a Tale of Cake is aged in these Tokaji barrels, which is a sweet white wine from Hungary. So if you've had the Glenmorangie Nectar d'Or or other sweet white wine finished whiskeys, it's probably going to be somewhere in line with that character-wise. So right away, nice color, but Glenmorangie is artificially coloring their whiskeys, as far as we know. So, this really doesn't tell you anything. It does look appealing, certainly, but it's fake. So there's nothing to learn there. Now, despite the artificial coloring, we do get 46% ABV, which is fantastic, and we get non-chill filtered, which again is something enthusiasts always like to see, although it's debatable whether or not it really makes a difference. The aroma on this is really interesting. It's like pineapple and vanilla. There's cake frosting, creme brulee notes. And again, Dr. Bill Lumsden did say that when he developed this whiskey, his intent was to create something that reminded him of pineapple upside down cake that I think it was his mother or his grandmother used to make when he grew up. And I definitely think there are notes reminiscent of that here, but the aroma is just super, super restrained. It's kind of hard to get in there. It's just a very, very light whiskey. So if that's what you enjoy, if that's what you're looking for, I think this one's going to be a little more up your alley. But all these aromas are really, really subtle, and I kind of makes me think that these barrels might have been second fill barrels before they put in the Tokaji barrels. And then my guess is that sweet white wine is a very subtle influence afterwards. So anyway, let's see how it tastes. It's a little bit spicy up front. The 46% is a little bit almost hot because Glenmorangie is such a light spirit. But you get a toasted bread character. You get the pineapple coming back. Sweetness, creamy, icing flavors. And then you kind of get this odd pine, oaky, bitter finish that's a little bit strange. I wouldn't say that the finish is exactly unpleasant, but it is, I don't know, it's not quite for me. There's just something about this whiskey that it's kind of great and kind of bad at the same time. I don't know. It just feels like, I don't know, maybe it's just not my thing. I just, at $100, I don't know. I think it needs to be more of a complete package here, and I think it's just a little too sweet up front and too bitter on the end, and those two things don't really seem to work together very well. But that being said, if you like these lighter style whiskeys, it's certainly worth trying. I think it's interesting. I think some of the pineapple aromas, I mean, it's reminiscent of vanilla cake and pineapple upside down cake for sure. But ultimately, I think this is still falling a little more in line with like the gimmicky side of Glenmorangie's releases, kind of like the X, than with a really great whiskey. So let me know down in the comments below what you think of the Glenmorangie Tale of Cake, whether you like it or not. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel, and go check out the Whiskey Uncut podcast. I post segments of that podcast here on YouTube, but the full podcast is available for download. That's me and James from Bourbon Sippers, kind of just hanging out, having a little more fun, not quite as structured of a review type show. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Cheers, and drink more whiskey.